Hey guys, it's Lori. How you doing this morning? I'm sorry about that door in the sun. I don't know if that blocks you from being able to see me, but the sun's shining anyway. That's good. Um, it's Saturday morning, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about a lot of different things. This world can be really difficult, can't it? It can be real difficult, I think. And I mean, we're dealing with, at least where I am, and I know many other places around the country, an epidemic of drug addiction. Alcoholism has been rampant for so long. I have a friend that went to the hospital not too long ago. She had to have surgery, and she didn't, the whole time in her hospital stay, she didn't take any opiates at all for pain relief. They were just giving her ibuprofen, like, 800 milligrams or whatever, and Tylenol, shifting it back and forth. I couldn't take that much ibuprofen. That would wreck my stomach. But anyway, I have an intolerance to ibuprofen. I can't take it at all. In fact, there was a woman I know not too long ago took ibuprofen and Tylenol daily. She did drink too. I don't know how much, but she died suddenly at a pretty young age. I'm not sure how old she was, but I know she wasn't considered like elderly, and yeah, she died from liver damage, not from the alcohol, according to the coroner, but from the ibuprofen and the Tylenol. So I know Tylenol, we're all well aware that it's bad for your liver, but so anyway, I'm at the hospital with this woman, and she asked the doctor about all that Tylenol. Is it bad for me? And the doctor's like, oh, it has to be in such high doses, it's not going to hurt you. She said, what about the stomach upset with ibuprofen? Same thing, it has to be in such high doses. Oh, people just don't know what they're talking about. And she kept pushing the opiates and pushing the opiates. Well, like I said, the whole time she was in there, the nurses knew it. I mean, sometimes the doctors don't pay enough attention. Obviously, this doctor was not, because kept insisting that she bring opiates home with her, and she never took them in the hospital. So why would you take them home with you? I could see if you were taking them at the hospital and she wanted to, continue with that kind of pain relief treatment, but she never took it in the hospital. So it was a mystery to the nurse, to myself, to the patient. But the doctor actually, when we were leaving, actually like caught her in the hallway and was like, "Remember the opiates." She was like all about this, and I guess when she was still kind of loopy from anesthesia, the doctor had asked her to do some kind of study on opiates. She doesn't even know what that is because of her condition when she signed it, but that's what the doctor was concerned about. So I don't know if they're trying to see like the average person who doesn't have an addiction, if they're going to get addicted. I have no idea. But in this day and age of opiate addiction being such a big deal, why would a doctor do that? I mean, I don't know if you know. I have lived so closely to addiction for so long, so many different things between my personal experience, the people that I love, all the things that have happened, and my clients and everything. I mean, oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's professional people. It used to be like the drudges of society, and I don't like to judge people. I don't, not for that kind of thing. I mean, for anything really, but I mean, I have seen, I got to tell you, social media, it's a good thing and a bad thing, and I swear, well, as you know, the devil will use anything he can to destroy people. Social media is one of them. Because I mean, over and over and over and over, you see all this public shame of these people. Now, I know that a severe case of addiction leads people to do things that are criminal, that need to, there's consequences to your actions, no doubt about it. I am not saying there should not be consequences to actions. There absolutely should be. But public shaming for things that have to do with your mental health and emotional health and physical health with addiction, it's not going to help anybody. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not. Yes, it's their choice to take that initial whatever hit or drink or whatever. And I don't know. I don't want to come off as saying they're not responsible. Absolutely they are. They are. No doubt about it. I just don't think public shaming is the answer. Most people that are addicts, I'm gonna go all the way up to like 99%, I think, have dual or triple or quadruple, maybe even more than that, diagnoses that have been left not even undiagnosed, but not even looked at. Why do people begin to use? Okay, there's different reasons. I mean, sometimes people begin because they've had surgery or they've had an injury and they get put on opiates by a doctor, or they have a chronic illness that, and for a long time, doctors were giving out pain pills like they were candy. And then the government steps in, the DEA steps in, and doctors get afraid. They just cut their patients off without any kind of tapering or anything like that, leave them in a tizzy. That's not fair, right? So, and there's a difference between addiction and dependence, okay? There's addiction, dependence, and abuse, substance abuse. So, substance abuse teeters right on the edge of addiction. Like, you're right on the edge of that. Many people abuse alcohol but are not addicted, right? But you're teetering right on the edge of that. And then there's dependence. And dependence is anybody who takes any kind of substance for any amount of time is going to develop a dependence. Now, depending on that amount of time, it's harder and harder to get off of. Your body is physically addicted to it. It's physically dependent on it. If you don't have that substance, you're going to get sick. So you have to, the only way out of that is to taper or, white knuckle it and get through it. The damage to the body can sometimes be permanent. The difference between dependence and addiction is the mindset. So, because addiction is a lot in the mind, in the brain. Not just the mind, in the brain, because sometimes the brain, I know that some people teach in addiction, there's different lines of thought, but that the chemicals in the brain actually react differently. Sometimes the drug does that, changes the brain, but sometimes even prior to starting, people that are prone to addiction, that maybe it runs in the family or whatever, they're finding out now that their whole thought process, the way their brain works is different. So when they take that drug, like my friend, she doesn't want anything to do with an opiate or a narcotic drug because she doesn't like the way it makes her feel. So even though it's taking away the pain, she's like, no, I don't want any part of that. Where there's other people who are prone maybe to addiction that'll take that and go, woohoo, this feels great. Not only is my pain gone, but I feel a little bit high, so yeehaw, right? Same thing with alcohol. I can't stand the way I feel, with alcohol in my system. So I choose not to drink. Thank God I don't like the taste of it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. Other people love the way it makes them feel. They'll have a drink to relax, whatever. It doesn't make them a bad person. It just means our reactions are different. It doesn't make me a bad person because I don't like it. You know what I mean? So now what's happening with this epidemic, at least in my area, is even so-called professionals, some doctors even, nurses, LADAC counselors, which is they're supposed to be experts in drug and alcohol, licensed alcohol and drug counselor, LADAC. People that work in rehabs, which would be the drug and alcohol or recovery counseling, whatever. What's happening is because we're having such an overwhelming addiction, and most times those recovery counselors are in recovery themselves, usually so long, which one good thing about that is they've had the personal experience, which is awesome. I think that's really a good thing. However, I have talked to many, especially in the last couple of years. Many people, counselors need to understand, whether you're a low-level counselor, like a recovery coach, which doesn't require a whole lot of education, or whether you're a psychiatrist and you've gone through years, 12 years of schooling or whatever. What people don't understand, and everything in between, people that are coming to you, Most of them. Some of them only come, to look good or to get out of something or whatever. But if people are seriously coming to you, um, your responsibility is really big. A spiritual counselor, anything, because these people are coming to you at a hard time in their life, and they may take what you say. Not that it's the healthy thing to do, but they may be just clinging to every word you say. So if you don't know your stuff, or if you're going by a standard, what you learned in a book, you may be really hurting someone. Okay? Same thing with prosecutors, defense attorneys, public defenders, anybody in the legal system. We got around here, we have something called diversion, and the whole point of it is to divert the person from going to jail and divert them from going in that life. Great idea on paper, right? The people they got working in there, I'm sorry, it's not working. You put pressure on somebody, it's not always the way. Why can't we look at people as individuals? Why can't we look at people as individuals in the mental health field? That's another thing. Mental health, other than addiction, at least addiction's getting some kind of attention. I mean, we close down mental hospitals. We have no place, it's very hard to find an inpatient right now that doesn't cost you $1 million. And even them, do they know what they're doing? We label people, we put them in little boxes, and everybody in that little box is the same. So people don't get help, okay? And I'm just talking about my own personal experience, and I could go off into a lot of different directions here with what's happened just with the people that I know, what I've experienced in my life through the legal system. Do you know how many young people that I personally may not know the young person, but I know their parents very well, and I've listened to their parents moan, heart-wrenching tears, just sit there and moan and cry, and there's nothing I can do to make that better except just sit there and listen, because they lost their child to suicide, because the legal system wouldn't let up just for a second. And what is their crime? Addiction and the whole gamut that goes with it. Now, I'm not saying they ever killed anybody. They weren't dealers that potentially could kill somebody. Again, I do believe that consequences come from our actions and people must pay. But this is, okay, so I've got this idea, and I am trying to put it together, and I want to go forth with it. But just in case you're in this situation, first of all, don't be too hard on yourself. I don't know what that just said. Something just came up on my phone. Every situation is different. Every person is different. Every family is different. Anybody connected to an addict that is struggling will feel the effects of it. This has the potential to destroy families. This has the potential to destroy not only the addict, but the people that love them. Okay? So you're not alone. Okay? So however you choose to get through that, all I'm asking you is come from a place of love. Some people have to totally walk away. I know that at one point, I have family members that deal with this, and at one point I had to say no more. I love you so much, but I can't stand you being here. So my youngest son actually lived in a tent for a long time because of that. Did I ever stop loving him? No, absolutely not. I used to stay up at night and I pray. So if you have to push them away, the whole tough love thing was really big in the 80s and 90s, and it was like, that's the only way, and you got to force them to bottom. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't. So what I'm saying is don't judge yourself, and don't let anybody, take advice from people that have been through it. Share, go to support groups, that kind of thing. But pray. and go with what is right for you, your family, your loved one, yourself. Okay? All right? No judgment here. That's what I'm saying. You will get no judgment from me because I get it. Whatever you got to do. Okay? The only thing I ask you is please don't lose sight of the love. Don't lose sight of the love. Don't lose sight of the person behind this. Okay? That person isn't gone. That person's still there. That person's very sick. Okay? So don't lose sight of those two things. Don't lose sight of what you had. Don't allow shame to rule. You know, in a society where anything goes just about, don't even get me going on that. They're going to shame an addict, shame the family of an addict. Oh, you must have done something wrong as a parent, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. Why is shame okay? Why are we doing that? That's not okay. I'm sorry, it's not okay. Especially if you call yourself a believer. Now, I know the world does not. Still not okay. But if you call yourself a believer and you're into public shame or throwing out your dirty laundry into, public domain, I'm sorry. That's wrong. If you're pushing somebody in a very negative way, it's different if it's coming from a place of love. You're not going to be nasty and mean. You may say things out of hurt and anger that you normally wouldn't say. But if you're trying to beat down that person, I'm not so sure it's coming out of love, Again, I'm not saying if you got in this brawl and this big fight, you're hurt, they're hurt. I get it. Okay, I get it. I'm not saying, that never happens. What I'm saying is as a rule, Because I have seen personally, I've seen the legal system and so-called, okay, I've seen the legal system destroy people, is what I was going to say. So let me put it this way. I have seen somebody acting out of their ego and control. That's all it was, is ego and control. And this is prior to any kind of addiction or anything like that. Takes his children, okay, that were too young to be, they're not doing drugs, they're not doing anything. Takes them and is on a complete power trip and decides that he knows what's right. He's going to get the legal system involved, and he lies through his teeth just to get what he wants on a power trip. Now, because he's done that, he's pulled in the authorities in the legal system. Totally crushed. The Bible says, Father, do not provoke your children to anger. This is exactly what he's talking about. Totally crushed his kids. So down the road, they turn to drugs. Legal system that was once their parent because of this power trip of this person is now their enemy. And no matter what they do, they try to do the right thing. They turn it around. They're going to rehab. They stop doing drugs. They're trying to get their life together. Got a job. The legal system says you can't have the job. No. You got to be at a meeting. How about if I go to work and then go to a meeting? No. Nope. You got to go to 10 meetings, So they take away everything that gives you something. Got to be done their way. Oh, my church has a place where they... Oh, no, we're not... No, can't be faith-based. Has to be our way. This is the legal system. I'm sorry I'm getting off on some stuff that makes me very, very angry. So this is my idea. I mean, how do we solve this? Well, first of all, we got to get some people that care in there. And I'm not saying people that care on the surface and don't really care, like is what we have now. Okay, we've got people who phony baloney say they care and they're all about helping and all they're really about themselves and their ego. We got the legal system who doesn't really care. They're just big brother being a big bully. Do you know how many people we have in jail in New Hampshire for nonviolent crimes basically against themselves, and they sit in jail for months and months and months because the courts are backed up, while we let pedophiles, don't even get me going, we let pedophiles, we let murderers, we let child abusers run free. We actually give some of these people power, at least where I'm from. Okay, I'm sorry I'm getting a little emotional, but this is a subject close to my heart. Okay? This is a spiritual battle. If you don't think demons are involved in this, then you're not looking hard enough. And I bet that everyone, if you are not personally connected to this in some way, whether you've had a struggle yourself, you've known somebody very close to you that has, I guarantee if you're not personally connected, you are at least 2 degrees away from it, no more than that. That's how bad. That's how bad this epidemic is. I know 4 families that have lost their child to suicide due to not the drug, the legal system. I've known some others who have lost their lives to the drug. Anyhow, okay. And then, you know what's interesting is after these so-called social workers and counselors and people that know it all, they know better than the parent, do their damage, they step back. And then when the progression gets worse, they go, oh, well, that wasn't our fault. Oh, it's so sad that person's dead. Anyhow, so my idea, sorry I keep delaying this, is I think, we've gotten a lot of funding here, a lot. So between last year and this year, the funding has way more than doubled. It's like, and I don't know exact numbers, but just to give you like a idea, say 34,000 to 34 million, like that's how much it increased, right? So we have the funding, but they'll tell you we don't. Okay, so what do they put the funding towards? Building McRehabs everywhere where they don't really help people. We have doctors who are getting there because you have to have a special license, special certificate to give drugs to help with withdrawal. So they're getting them all over the place and they're making bank off this, not really caring about the people. And how do I know they don't really care about the people? Because if those people don't have money, they don't get their appointment, which means they don't get their medication, which means they're back on the street. And the doctors or clinics or so-called recovery places just don't care. A lot of treatment centers will, you mess up in some way, shape, or form, stupid, write a note to somebody, and you get kicked out. And you know what? They keep your money for the next week because it has to be processed. So they kick you out with no money. Let you live on the street or bring you to a homeless shelter. Oh, geez, who do you think you're going to hook up with there? And I'm not saying it's their fault. I do give the addict accountability. Please don't get me wrong. I know the addicts need their own accountability. I get it. Do you know how many children are dealing with this? And then when you try to step up and help with the kids, the courts, somebody on a power trip starts the whole process all over again. Anyhow, this is my idea. So take some of that funding, educate, educate, educate. If a recovery counselor tells you all drugs are the same, all addictions are the same, all people are the same, it's all in a little box, that person is not educated, okay? Because it's not true. I know alcoholics, I know people that do crystal meth, I know people that do heroin, different drug, different symptoms, different addiction. Okay, we might have a core that's the same in addiction, just like we have a core that's the same in diabetes or the same in cancer or whatever. But we're talking about a mental illness. It's not exactly the same. You can't put people in boxes. So we need to educate. We need to educate. And they promised they would, and they decided not to do it. We need to educate these prosecutors, these defense attorneys, these public defenders, these jail wardens and COs. We need to educate the doctors themselves, the nurses. Get rid of the McRehabs. Put them out. Put them out of business. This isn't, granted, yes, we live in a capitalist society. People can make money. I get it. I'm all for it. Build your business. But God damn it. Excuse my language. I'm sorry about that. But damn it. Help these people. We got a whole generation dying off. And it's not just that generation that does it, but it's really affected that generation. We've got their children. The cycle continues because we got control freaks taking over. Anyway, I can't do this anymore because I'm getting emotional. But please, if you're in that situation, come from a place of love. Don't forget about the love. If you are forgetting about it, take a step back, okay? Take a step back. You can't control this situation. Even the addict themselves has lost control. You can't control it. Pray. Find yourself some support. If you are the addict, please, it's not the end of the world. You can get help. I'm going to fight for education. Another thing that I think is good is, when people do get arrested and go to jail for a drug offense or whatever, or something connected to drugs, and you can clearly see they're an addict. That's another thing. Some people use in the system, and they're like, oh yeah, got a drug addiction, and they seem to like get right off the hook. And then the people who really have the drug addiction are, and I'm not, some drug addicts are nasty, mean people. Like I said, people don't do drugs for any reason. I've met drug addicts that are wonderful people that can't stand the energy in this world, so self-medicate, become an addict. And I know addicts that are lying, cheating, stealing, rotten people too, just like in anything else, okay? We've got to get to the bottom of that. We need to have people that are educated enough, spiritually attuned enough, have enough discernment to tell the difference, okay? And so, like one of my friends said, if you get this charge, so we don't just let them out on the street. And we do have some programs like this, but I mean, put them in some rehabilitation place, tell them they can't leave. And I know they're supposed to only go when they are ready for the help, but you know what? Sometimes forcing the issue isn't such a bad thing. And while you're there, let's have some mental health professionals come in and try to see, once we clear the drugs, what's going on? Where did this start? Can we get some mental health help? I know what they're doing is I see it all over. They medicate these people. They got like Wellbutrin or Xanax. Oh, that's a great thing to give an addict, right? Along with their whatever medication to keep them off drugs. But they haven't done any kind of true deep counseling. The only counseling they're getting is involving the addiction. There's a reason they're addicts. I know this can't change overnight, but I think if we come together and we pray and we lift them up instead of judging them and publicly shaming them, get educated, get real, and come from a place of love, that things may change. So I'm going to bring this to the state at some point. I got to put it together and make it. I can't go up there and be as emotional as I am in this video. Tell me what you think. Have you dealt with this? There are support groups. There are support groups, whether you are the addicted one or you are, you love an addict. There are support groups. Please reach out. Don't allow shame or public ridicule or some of these a-holes that do that or judge or whatever. You know what? We live in a fallen world and we're a fallen people, so don't let that shame stop you from getting the help you need. Sorry if this was a little too emotional. I will talk to you soon. You have a great day. And I'll be back in the next video.